Ikahi Mediation Center is a nonprofit community center serving East Hawaii. We were founded in 1983 as a program of the YMCA. And then in 2006, we became our own independent nonprofit. So what we do here is we empower people to come together, to talk, to listen, to explore options, and to find their own best solutions. So to achieve this mission, we offer mediations, which is the bulk of what we do here at the Mediation Center. We do facilitations. We do trainings, just like this one, to strengthen the ability of diverse individuals and groups to resolve interpersonal conflicts and community issues. So if you are interested in the work of the Mediation Center, or if you're interested in being a mediator yourself, we have our basic mediation training that's coming up here at the end of April, the beginning of May. So you can go to our website, hawaiimediation.org, in order to get the application if you're interested in basic mediation training, or just, you know, if you're interested in any other training that we have. So you can go to our website. So at the end of this presentation, you're going to have an opportunity to give your feedback in an evaluation. So I'm going to pop in a link in the chat box. And please do take the time to fill out the evaluation. It's just really short. It's very short. It'll take you less than 5 minutes, but it really helps us with our grant funding. And it helps keep this brown bag talk free and open to the public. So please do fill it out. And I'll pop that link in the end at the chat box. So it just takes a moment, okay? So, and also please, of course, feel free to register for future brown bag talks every month, because this happens every third Thursday. And today's speaker is Paula Thomas, who holds a MEd in dance and a BA in English and economics. She became a certified yoga teacher in 2010. And then Paula has taught stress management for the Ornish Lifestyle Medicine Program and yoga at the University of Hawaii at Hilo. And she's engaged in digital marketing, writing, communications for conscious entrepreneurs in Hawaii and beyond. So she does a lot of facilitations, consulting, coaching, listening, which is always a good thing to do. And creating has been just like a huge part of her life. So hello, welcome, Paula.
And thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to get right into my presentation. So I'm going to share my screen and start my slideshow. If you do have questions along the way, I'd really appreciate if you just put it in the chat. And then Majita's going to help me with you know, getting to the questions if they need to be answered right away. So I'm interested in answering questions, but there's a lot to get to today. And so I want to make sure we cover, I get to you and get my information out. So again, welcome. We're going to talk about how to manage stress through stillness, breath work, and mindset. You can do it because you're the only one who can for yourself. So first, what is stress? Stress is a physiological response in the body. It's not some, you know, thing out there that we get. It's an internal response to external circumstances. It's palpable, it's visceral, it's natural, and it's also absolutely necessary. It was identified by a Hungarian doctor named Hans Selye, who was working in hospitals and noticed that, that people, despite whatever reason they were in the hospital, they also had symptoms like adrenal hyperactivity, lymphatic atrophy, they were developing ulcers, and he determined that the there was a mechanism in the body that was creating this, and he labeled that as stress. And there's two categories of stress: acute versus chronic. In order to understand chronic, which is really what many of us suffer from, you need to understand what goes on with acute stress. So acute stress is the work and the reflection of the sympathetic nervous system of the body, which is also called the fight or flight response. I notice I have flight or flight here, but it's fight or flight. So it's activated by an outer trigger of danger. And I put in here the saber-toothed tiger, which is, out in the savannas in Africa when we were evolving as humans. This is the kind of danger that humanoids were subject to. And so this stress response, this fight or flight, came in response to the dangers out in the environment. But we also have inner triggers of danger, like things like fear of getting COVID that can cause us stress. The physiological response is a function of the HPA axis in the body, which is the hypothalamus, which talks to the pituitary gland, which talks to the adrenal glands. And this HPA axis is triggered by fear, which comes from the amygdala. So what do you need to understand here? And I'm going to go through a little bit of the anatomy very briefly, but our response to external danger is through the amygdala. This part of the brain detects things that are scary or dangerous in the environment. A lot of times, the amygdala, which is also connected to the prefrontal cortex, which is where we think and make decisions, those two parts of the brain work synchronously. So we can rationalize through the prefrontal cortex what we need to be afraid of and what we don't need to be afraid of. So the prefrontal cortex regulates the stress response. You can think, oh, we don't really need to worry about this right now. And so as the amygdala triggers fear, the prefrontal cortex says, oh, not too bad, don't worry about it. We don't have a stress response. But if the prefrontal cortex isn't just making that determination, now we have the hypothalamus in the brain waking up the pituitary gland, which is telling the anterior pituitary to connect with to contact the adrenal glands and start putting cortisol into the system. And so this is what the HPA axis is: hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenal glands. And the pituitary gland basically send hormones to the adrenal gland to release cortisol, and the adrenal glands release cortisol. As you can see from the diagram, they release cortisol into the bloodstream. So I'm one step ahead of myself, and this is called this is a humoral way of there's humoral way of getting hormones into the body. So this HPA axis puts cortisol into the system, and now we have a full-fledged stress response. So what is happening once that happens? We have an elevated heart rate. Our breathing gets shallow. There's vascular constriction. We no longer have to go to the bathroom. The GI system completely shuts down because if we're running away from the saber-toothed tiger, who's going to stop to empty their bladder? Right, so that shutdown of the GI system, and then this secretion of epinephrine and norepinephrine, which puts us into this hyperactive state. It takes about 90 minutes for the metabolism to return to normal once the response is over. So that is the body's acute response to stress, which is immediate danger in the environment. And it's important to know what that mechanism is, because in chronic stress, the same mechanism is activated, except it never gets turned off. And what happens with that, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but when you're in a state of chronic stress, that cortisol going into your system, the glucose that's also activating your musculature, which happens in acute stress, never shuts down. And so your body, by nature of the systems in it, becomes dysregulated, and you start getting dis-ease that can be very serious, leading to diabetes, hypertension, cardiac issues, etc. So chronic stress is the steady physiological reaction to acute stress that becomes habitual in the body and causes the disruption and disturbance of the body's natural ability to regulate the endocrine system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, and the immune systems. And as I was mentioning, the long-term chronic stress interferes with insulin, with glucose, with serotonin, which is your happy hormone, and it compromises the immune system. So how to identify states of stress? The biological or medical ways is high blood pressure, hypertension, shallow breathing, if you become pre-diabetic, or even if you get diabetes, there's a good chance that it is caused by stress. It can lead to congestive heart. If you have some congestive heart failure, stress could be the cause. Digestive issues, jaw clenching, ulcers, weakened immune system. These are, biological symptoms that you may have that could indicate that you have stress. Psychosocially, you may be stress eating or eating irregularly or not habitually. You may be feeling irritability, overwhelmed, not in control. You may have trouble sleeping. You may feel depression or sadness, have panic attacks. All these are indications that your body is under stress. So in the next few slides, I have some questions that you might want to ask yourself. And I'm not going to read all of them because I want to move on to other things. But like just high blood pressure, gastrointestinal distress, all these symptoms, biological and psychosocial, that I mentioned are in these questions. And the good news is if you answer yes to any of these questions, there's a good chance that you do feel stress and that you can help yourself. And that's what this presentation is about. The last two questions here I have, and one of them is, are you able to say no when you are asked to volunteer, contribute, or help out when you really do not want to? And one of the things that I found when I was teaching in the Ornish program is a lot of the participants were finding that they were stressed out because they were oversubscribed. They may have been retired, but they had like 5 organizations that they volunteered with, or they sat on boards in addition to having work. And they were not able to say no when someone asked them to do something. And even though this seems like a little simple thing, a Manini thing, it's not really, because if you can't say no, and when you're asked to do something, it feels really heavy and you don't really want to do it, it's your body telling you that you really may not have the capacity or the bandwidth to do that. And so I just threw that in there so you can get kind of a sense for how to listen to what your body's telling you. All right, so moving on to how to manage stress and basically the heart of this presentation. There are 3 things that I wanted to focus on today: stillness, breathing, and mindset. And the stillness and the breathing are all about sort of embodying your experience. These are practices that you engage your body in, and that practice of engaging your body in these things helps you to become more aware of what's going on inside you, especially mentally. And so that affects and illuminates your mindset that you can then change. So mindset in itself isn't enough to take you out of stress. You have to do some body practices, develop a deeper internal awareness so that you can begin making shifts from the inside out, not the outside in. So we'll start with stillness. And this is a quote from Eckhart Tolle: "The only place where there is freedom from the conditioned mind is the present moment." And what he means by conditioned mind is all of the things all of the ways your mind operates up to this very moment that are a function of how you were raised, what you believe, how you feel, what you've been taught, and what you choose to identify with. And the only place where there's freedom from all of that stuff is in the present moment, which leads us to one of the practices that we do in stillness, which is meditation. So there's lots of ways to meditate, and I have identified just 2 here, which is 3 actually. Gazing meditation, which is about sitting still and staring at something. Like you can pick a stone, a beautiful rock from your garden, put it on your hand and just look at it. Gazing meditation can be done with a lighted candle. You just simply look at the candle flame and look at the candle flame. Maybe you look at the candle flame for 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. You think, wow, what is the point of that? The stillness and the attention and focus are what actually gets you separated from or creates some space and distance from, I'm going to turn that off, blow that off, your thoughts. And you start to be able to see how your mind works when you still the body and you quiet the mind. So the gazing meditation is one way to do that, where you look at the candle flame, look at a rock or something from nature. And there's also mindful meditation where you can gently close your eyes and just focus on your breath, the gentle inhalation and exhalation. So if you care to, just close your eyes for a moment and then just watch your breath for the next 15 seconds. Ready? Just close your eyes. Just don't change your breath. Just watch your breath. Okay, just open your eyes now. And I don't know what your experience was, but it's sometimes really hard to stay focused on your breath. You might feel, oh, I feel really self-conscious. This seems really silly. Oh, my heart's beating fast. But like the mind wants to jump around and react to anything but stillness. And so the beauty of meditation is that you invite the skill of focus and concentration into your skill set. And it's really hard to do because the mind isn't accustomed to doing that. So the meditation also serves the purpose of calming the mind. There's a whole lot of benefits to meditation. It calms the mind. It can lower the heart rate. I have a little document here I want to pull up. Hold on. It lowers the heart rate. It can reduce blood pressure. It decreases muscle tension. It increases alpha waves of the brain. And it brings the heartbeat into rhythm. It also supports creativity because you're resting the mind and allowing new things new ideas to emerge from the space the space in a way that they create by just focusing and breathing and not letting your attention chase your thoughts, but rather you learn through meditation to be the equivalent of the person sitting on the bank of a river while your thoughts are the water that's flowing through the river. And if you can imagine that scene, like you're not in your thoughts, your thoughts are flowing, but you're staying still and you're not in the stream. So that's the beauty of meditation. You want to learn how to detach from your thoughts. And to do that, stillness is required. You can't be moving when you do this because even the very stillness is signaling to the body that there's no need to activate anything, that we're not going anywhere. Then walking meditation is another way to slow things down, even though it's not stillness. Walking meditation is the very deliberate, very slow shifting of weight from one foot to the other as you walk. And you find that when you walk really slowly, and it's great to do this without shoes on, so you can really feel your feet on the floor, that you're so aware of how your weight is coming down into your feet and the requisite balance that you need to keep from falling over, that you don't actually start thinking about other things, because the body is like, again, it's in survival mode. The brain's like, whoa, 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 we're walking really slowly and this feels really unsteady. And that's the point, right? The unsteadiness there serves a lot of purposes. One, it draws your attention right to the feet and your balance. And that's all you're paying attention to. It brings you right into the present moment. And you're just trying not to fall. So walking meditation is another meditation tool that's great. I sometimes actually do it when I'm in shopping and I'm like in a place like Target, and I see that there's a long line. Even though I have shoes on, I will slow walk toward the line and just like forget about, oh, I need to go this, I need to do that. I don't want to wait this long, but I just get right into the present moment that way. So this is the key. Remember at the very beginning, stillness, the way to get out of the conditioned mind is come into the present moment. That's the secret of stillness. Okay, the benefits of meditation and deep relaxation. I'm going to talk about deep relaxation in a bit, but it calms the mind, improves your ability to focus, It improves mental clarity. It also, this is interesting too, studies have shown that meditation improves and increases brain volume in at least 8 different areas of the brain. Pretty powerful, like the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe. It has a benefit of increasing brain volume. This also supports what? Creativity, clarity, better thinking, all that kind of stuff. And it increases, I said, increases creativity. So why should we bother to get into the present moment? If you've ever listened to anything by Eckhart Tolle, he's sort of masterful at explaining what the value of being in the present moment is. But he says the only remedy for feeling anxiety and stress is to come into the present moment. And why he says that and what he means by that is that our thoughts are also a great source of stress. Today's tax day, for example, thinking about taxes and what you may owe or how to get them done could be very stressful. You think about it and it causes you anxiety or worry or from the uncertainty from what. So thinking causes anxiety and stress. And if we're not in the present moment, we're either thinking about something in the past or we're thinking about something in the future. So one of the things you might want to ask yourself is where are you habitually focused? Do you think more about the past and you're worried about stuff that happened, or you harbor thoughts about what you could have corrected but you didn't? Or do you tend to think about the future, which is also where worrying comes in? In the honors program, we learn the term awfulizing. You're just sort of a naysayer and a predictor that everything that happens in the future is going to be bad. Well, just connecting an uncertainty with negativity is a source of stress. So if you know what your habits are, that's really one step toward remediating them. If you bring yourself into the present moment, you sort of shut down that whole network of habitual thought that you engage with, and then you can actually start to see it more clearly. Oh, every time I think about so and so or think about such and such, I get negative or I get depressed. And that doesn't have to be the case. You made that association. It's the way you think. You could potentially repattern that, but you'll never know you have to unless you see it to begin with. So this is why Eckhart Tolle talks about being in the present moment, engaging these practices. And I says here, you're thinking of the past or the future. You connect emotions and thoughts. And then you have emotional triggers like, oh, so-and-so, my husband crashed the car. I don't trust him driving anymore. And every time you think about him getting in the car, you remember the time that he crashed the car, right? Is that helpful? Not really. Is that creating anxiety and stress? Absolutely. So why do you do that? What purpose does it serve? How can you undo that? You can undo that by looking at what you're doing, reflecting on the associations you're making, and then just creating a different story. Oh, my husband did that one time, but he happened to be really tired and that's why he crashed the car. So as long as he's not tired, that's not going to happen again. That's about like repatterning your emotional triggers, because a lot of stress comes from the way we think. Okay, moving on. Breath work. The breath work is incredibly important and helpful and valuable, and it's one of the most powerful tools we have to mitigate and remediate stress. So we're going to do some breath practices today, and I hope you all engage in them. If you don't care to, it's fine with me, but I encourage you to practice along with us so you can get a sense and experience what these breath practices are. So we're going to do in the moment breathing. All of the breath work is designed to calm the body and calm the mind. So these universal practices have a positive physiological effect. And here we go. The techniques, smoothing the breath. So I want you to close your eyes for a moment and just observe your breathing. Just inhale, exhale. And keeping your eyes closed now, I want you to inhale to the count of 3 and exhale to the count of 3. Like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can open your eyes now. This is called smoothing the breath. Your inhalation is exactly the same as your exhalation. That actually does serve to calm your body. It calms the nervous system. And as you get to be a better breather, a deeper breather, you might want to breathe in for 6 or 7 or 8 counts, pause and breathe out for 6 or 7 or 8 counts. But that smoothing the breath just creates a flow and it calms the body. Deep belly breathing is another technique. So if you put your hands on your lower belly, just put your hand on your lower belly. Once again, close your eyes and just breathe in, breathe out. So if you're like me, I find that, great, my hand's on my lower belly, but I'm actually breathing in my chest right now, which is totally normal. Deep belly breathing is a deeper, relaxing breath. And you can induce deep belly breathing by pushing your belly against your hand. You're not pushing your hand into your belly, you're pushing your belly into your hand as you breathe in. So try that. So close your eyes, push your belly into your hand and breathe in. Try to push the air down into your lower belly and then exhale. And you should feel your belly contracting just a little bit as the air leaves the body. Do that a few more times. Push the air down into the lower belly and slowly exhale. Once again, into the lower belly, just breathe into the lower belly. And then slowly exhale. Now, a couple things to say about this, that it may be hard to do, deep belly breathing on the spot. When you're really relaxed, you will only deep belly breathe. To make yourself relaxed, you can induce the deep belly breath. It's not wrong to breathe in your chest. It's not right to be deep belly breathing. The fact of the matter is the diaphragm inside the body enables the breath to be in the chest. It also enables the breath to be in the deep belly. It's not going to be in both. If you're deep belly breathing, you're not also chest breathing. If you're chest breathing, you're not deep belly breathing. Those two cavities work in opposition to one another. But the deeper your breath, the deeper the breath, the more likely it is that you'll be deep belly breathing. And I promise you, when your body is really relaxed, you're breathing into your belly. Okay, so the next breath is lion's breath. Lion's breath is really effective if you are like hyper about something, you're really emotionally charged, and you want to settle the body down in the moment. It's a vigorous exhalation that involves sticking the tongue out and vigorously exhaling so that you make noise in your throat. It looks like this. Now, if I have had, recently I was really upset about something, and I found that I just couldn't get it out of my system. Literally, you think, but I can't get it out of my system. So I did 9 lion's breath. I like the number 9. I did 9 lion's breaths, and I actually just allowed myself to decompress from that, and it dissipated my anger and upset, and it sort of cleared. It's like a clearing out. So I want you to try the lion's breath yourself. So you're going to deep breathe in, exhale, inhale, deep breathe, exhale, inhale, and exhale. One more time, inhale, and exhale. So unfortunately, everybody's muted and I can't hear how loud you are, but one of the things I want to share is that deep belly breathe, lion's breath it's not delicate, and it's not feminine, and it's not meant to be sweet, right? You're really vigorously letting this air out. And it's called lion's breath for a reason. So you got to channel your inner lion or lioness to breathe out. I used to joke with my participants in the Ornish program that, when they're having a conversation with somebody and they're getting agitated because they're feeling really upset. Nobody makes you upset, but you're getting upset by what's going on. You can just like throw out a few lion's breaths in the moment to reduce the charge and like probably disarm the person who's, spewing at you because they're thinking, what are you doing? But you're taking care of yourself, right? You're de-stressing the moment. Anyway, that's lion's breath. The next one is alternate nostril breathing. Has anybody ever heard of alternate nostril breathing or done it before? This is This is a technique that is meant to develop or help you develop passive attention, and also get your breathing, your breath in balance. Now, with alternate nostril breathing, you're going to breathe through one nostril and then the other. In the world of pranayama, which is yoga breathing, the left nostril connects to the parasympathetic nervous system. The right nostril connects to the sympathetic nervous system. So, and throughout the day, every 90 minutes or so, the tissue in the nose expands on one side, and then the tissue will expand on the other. And this is the body's way of just balancing the nervous system through that inflation of this erectile tissue that's in the nose. So alternate nostril breathing really just serves to bring you into that state of passive attention, because at the top of each exhalation, you're just letting both nostrils be open. Here's how you do it. Everybody take you have to use your right hand, and it's almost like making a shaka, except you just use your two fingers. The pointer finger, middle finger come down onto the palm. You press the ring finger and the pinky together and the thumb. You use the outside fingers and the thumb, closing your right nostril and inhaling through your left nostril. Pause and then clamp the left nostril with your ring finger and your pinky finger, and then open up the opposite nostril, the right nostril. Exhale. Then inhale, close that nostril, open up the other one, exhale. So I want you to try that with 3 more times. Inhale, close the nostril, open up the other, exhale. Inhale, clamp it, open up the other nostril, exhale. Inhale, close the nostril, open up the other one, exhale. One more time, inhale, clamp, open, exhale. Inhale, clamp, open up the opposite one, and exhale. So that's alternate nostril breathing. There's a videotape on the Ornish program of Hillary Clinton doing nostril breathing, and she swears by it because every time she had to do a presentation or stand in front of a group, she would do alternate nostril breathing before she went on stage to calm the nervous system. This is what it does. It's known for calming the nervous system and bringing you into a state of passive attention, which is really helpful because in meditation, you want to be in a state of passive attention. Meditation also creates a state of passive attention, which is like opening up the nostrils, balancing the hemispheres of the brain, calming the nervous system. The other thing, three-way breathing is another technique. This is related to deep belly breathing, but it incorporates deep belly breathing and chest breathing. And in the interest of time, I'm going to do this really fast. You're going to put your hand on your belly and hand on your chest. And in three-way breathing, you actually push the air into both cavities. So you're going to take an inhalation, breathe into the lower belly, then push the air into the chest, keep breathing, and exhale. Getting all the air out on the exhalation. Inhale, pull the air into the chest, and exhale. So it's deep belly breath, bring the breath into the chest, and exhale. One other breath technique that I didn't mention here that is really easy and super simple is related to smooth breathing. Your smooth breathing, you're breathing in for 3, out for 3. If you really need to calm down because you're supercharged or you're like agitated, if you don't want to do lion's breath, you can simply change the breath rhythm to exhale much longer than you inhale, so that you're going, breathe in for 3, breathe out as long as you can, getting as much breath out of the body as you can, then breathe in, then long exhalation. Where does that air come from? We have excess oxygen in the body. We have oxygen as a toxin. The natural the natural course of being like exercising and having stress is going to throw carbons out of the Krebs cycle. The waste product of of activated body is carbon. So you have carbon and oxygen coming together. Wow, that's CO2. So you have the capacity to make more, to have CO2 in the body and then bring out much more air than you're taking in, and that is actually going to help you. Like de-stress right in the moment. We all do this anyway. When you're, frustrated, you're doing something, what is that? That's a vigorous exhalation. You go, But if you really intentionally, you're telling the body to calm down, and it works. Okay, next one, benefits of breath work. Calms the nervous system. It increases circulation of the blood. It increases the oxygenation of the blood. It calms the mind. It also promotes wound healing, believe it or not, because you're taking cortisol out of the system and you're bringing more relaxation, which promotes healing into the body. And it also reduces your heart rate. So all the things that cause us stress cause what? Increased heart rate, agitation, vascular constriction, etc. So this breath work literally undoes the physiological effects of stress. So moving on to mindset, this is a big topic, and I use some like banners here so that even though these are big things, but you have them in your PowerPoint presentation so that you can refer back to these. So you have negative feelings, you're connected. Remember that emotion and thoughts get connected. Sometimes it brings a negativity. You have 6 options. You can ignore it, recognize it's just a thought. Thoughts aren't real, thoughts are thoughts. You can try to relax because pleasure blocks anxiety. It does if you relax. You do some breath work, you're just increasing the level of serotonin in your body and you're decreasing the body's propensity to pick up the receptors to pick up the cortisol. So now you're going to induce more relaxation in the body. You can observe it like we do in meditation, observe it and just don't judge it. Just recognize, hey, this is there. I don't have to do anything about this. Analyze it, use logic and reason, that prefrontal cortex, right? That when you're fearful, prefrontal cortex, logic, reason, I don't need to be bothered about this. Accept it, knowing it's part of life, that's having a little bit of grace. And then practicing self-love and gratitude, which is really big. That's something that you do for yourself. Self-love, gratitude. Always, you can't get enough of self-love and gratitude. All right, so how to remediate stress, act with intention. Have an outcome in mind before you argue, discuss, challenge. And the outcome doesn't have to mean like, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat this person. The outcome may be, I want to end up having a positive relationship with this person at the end of this. Or I want to end up with, more money in my pocket than I have right now without, making a specific amount, without predetermining exactly what it is you want. You have the concept in mind of what you want the outcome to be. Another thing to remediate stress is clean up the messes as soon as they occur. Like I like to use the analogy, if you spill coffee, aren't you going to go grab a towel or a sponge and mop it up? But yes, you probably will. The kid spills milk on the table, your child spills milk, you're going to clean it up right away before it drips down onto the carpet or the floor. In the same way, sometimes we say things that we don't mean, and words can hurt. Or we do things that hurt. And that's a mess that we've just created. And if you apologize right away, you just catch yourself and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Or I know that really hurt your feelings. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. This is what I was getting at. That's about kind of verbally cleaning up the messes as soon as they occur. So you don't get this lingering, you don't have lingering distaste, irritation, resentment, and anything more forceful or violent than that going on between you and another person. If you clean up the messes when they occur, it's like the body coming back to balance and you move on with a clean slate. Change your attitude. Changing your attitude is only possible if you know what your attitude is and you know how your attitude is triggered by your emotions, which is what, coming back to the very beginning when I said breath work and stillness are 2 elements to mindset. You have to understand who you are and what your attitudes are in order to be able to change them without feeling like you're giving up some core of your identity. So you can change your attitude towards your work, and your coworkers. You can change your attitude toward your spouse, and the members of your family, extended family, and your friends and neighbors. Okay, you can change yourself, but you cannot change others. You cannot change others. All the work is within you if you want a different outcome. So if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done before. I mean, I left that, just let that linger for just a second. So also another thing you can do is making habit and lifestyle changes. You can downsize or upsize things in your life. And in this illustration, obviously this woman needs to actually upsize things in her life. She's thinking too small and needs to break out and do something different. Reducing volunteer time for those people who do too much and they aren't really happy about all the things that they do. You learn to say no. Recognize situations, allow yourself time to reflect on, whether something felt heavy or whether something feels joyful. You can stop revisiting the past because stress comes from living in the past. And then also another habit we have is punishing people over and over again for the same crime. You did that last time. You crashed the car when you did that, and I remember that, and I don't. So that kind of mindset and attitude is about punishing people over and over again for the same crime. So you're allowing yourself to have this recording that goes over and over and over and over again, and you put people in a box as a result of that. And you also re-engage with the upset that you experienced years ago. Why do that? So when you recognize situations, when you realize your thought patterns and your habits of mind, then you can start to change and realize, oh, I'm punishing somebody for the same crime over and over again. We're the only species that does that. And then asking for what you need on a positive note. You need assistance, ask for what you need, and enlist the assistance of others when you need to. That also helps unburden you from the things that you feel like you can't handle. Adjust mental habits, drive toward outcomes, not into problems. Stop analyzing your misery. Think about where you want to go, not where you have been. So that's engaging with creativity and newness and positivity versus, reflecting on where you've been. And then decide how you want to feel going forward. A lot of times we don't really think about that, but a key to transformation and manifestation is to think about how it is you want to feel as a result of doing something. And you let that emotional impulse guide your behavior. And it really does work, but you have to start with how you want to feel and act with intention about that. Another way to remediate stress, which is a whole other topic, is nutrition, right? If you tend to eat when you're stressed or drink when you're stressed or grab for those cookies or go get a beer or, just nosh and nosh and nosh all day long because you're stressed, no food or drink has ever or will ever ease your stress. So food of any kind, drink of any kind is not a remedy for stress. And in fact, those things that make it worse are sugars, fats, caffeine, and then the habits of stress eating and stress drinking. So if you feel like that's out of control for you, you stress eat, mindfulness, acting with intention, why am I eating this? Having things around that are healthy to snack on instead of just grabbing for whatever it is, being intentional about what you put into your body in the way of nutrition is a really great way to start remediating the effects of stress when it comes to food and nutrition. There's always, if it's more serious, going to getting medical assistance, getting therapy, and allowing yourself to be supported by professionals. Be more open and honest with yourself and others, and cut down on being critical and judgmental, right? Letting others do that to you and you doing that to others, but we're always often the worst on ourselves. And there's no need for that. We're not perfect. We're not meant to be perfect. There's no reason that we should be critical. Decide what you want to change, decide what you can't change, and leave the rest behind. Another thing is to engage with your body to reduce stress, how to remediate stress. The breathing techniques are one thing. Getting hands-on therapies like massage, Reiki, acupuncture, any kind of body work is really helpful to remediate the effects of stress because you do relax when you're engaged in these practices. Prayer and meditation is wonderful. Exercise and things like yoga move the energy around. It's important to do that too with stress, to get exercise, to move the energy around. The stillness is helpful for building your awareness, but dissipating energy, great way to do that, exercise. And yoga is a great practice because it combines a lot of things. And then also be true to your inner superhero, cultivate authenticity, learn to say no. There's a coach whose work I love, and she says, every time you say yes to something that you really want to say no to, so you're abandoning yourself. Your inner impulse is to say, no, I don't want to do this. And you're not listening to yourself. You say yes for somebody else, but it's not for you. And in that sense, you abandon yourself, and there's no need to do that. So learning to say no is more important than you may think. So even though you're muted, I want you to just, at a count of 3, just say the word no. Ready? 1, 2, 3. No. And mean it, right? People eventually will listen to you. No, it's for my health. I really can't do this. All right, next, understand what erodes your self-confidence. Stay away from things that erode your self-confidence, or do what you need to do to restore your self-confidence. And that may mean going for a walk, calling a friend, connecting with somebody who loves you, or feeling gratitude in the moment for something that you have. And that's all part of cultivating inner strength. We all need inner strength. In the next minute or so, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to leave you with this, but it's worth a study. And this is rather complex, this chart, but I just want to briefly explain it to you. If you look at the center is love of life, right? What's going to make you love of life? All the things that are that square around the love of life are practices and things that you can do that are going to draw are going to bring to you 80% of your wellness. So in the upper left quadrant, we have for an individual to support their mind care, you're going to engage in gratitude practices, internal reflection, and creative expression. Moving down one quadrant, 80% of your wellness in terms of your societal relationships is going to come from the company you keep, who you choose to associate with, and how much time you spend without company, which is time for yourself in reflection, meditation, stillness, breath work, etc. Moving on to the right, upper right quadrant in terms of how to love life. This is body care for the individual. 80% of your wellness comes from sleep, good nutrition, and movement. And then the lower right quadrant is 80% of wellness for in the environment. The environment that you inhabit comes from lighting, air quality, and your sleeping condition. So just some food for thought. All the in the periphery and the upper corners, you can read for yourselves what the 20% of your wellness comes from other types of things, but the main source of your everlasting wellness comes from these practices that will help you love life. So I leave you with that chart. Be more loving. When you're loving, you trigger oxytocin and serotonin, which are the hormones of happiness and pairing. Engage in deep relaxation, and that means sometimes grabbing a couple pillows, lying down on the floor, putting a head underneath your pillow, putting a pillow underneath your head, putting a pillow underneath either your hips or your knees, and just laying down and resting comfortably. That deepens your breath, calms the nervous system. It's going to reduce your cortisol levels. It's going to slow your heart rate. It's going to improve your circulation. You can support deep relaxation by, visualizing a beautiful place, being by the beach, playing with your grandchildren. All these, the way that you think in a state of deep relaxation will influence how deeply you relax, and it undoes all of those effects of stress that may be in your body. And so the point of this whole presentation is that yes, you have the capacity in yourself to engage in these practices that are going to undo stress. And anytime you engage in deep relaxation, you're engaging what? The parasympathetic nervous system, which is only accessible by your behavior and your actions. Unlike the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight that is going to automatically come into, it automatically trigger due to a danger in the environment, the parasympathetic nervous system only engages when you induce it. So the gratitude and appreciation, cultivating self-love, exercising, and learning to say no are also ways, in addition to the physical relaxation responses that practices that I talked about, are ways for you to remediate stress. You know, Glenn doesn't mean really anything. I just found the way those 4 letters come together to make a word that may be remembered is Glenn, gratitude, L for love, E for exercise, N for saying no. And then lastly, I love this. If a woman or a man should conquer 1,000 and 1,000 more, which means in battle, and another should conquer himself, his would be the greater victory, because the greatest of victories is the victory over oneself. And that, you know, tracks right back to Socrates, who said, know thyself. That self-awareness, self-reflection, understanding how you connect your thoughts and how your thoughts create your reactions and how that induces stress in your body. Know that for yourself. And on that note, I thank you so much for coming to this session today. I leave you with some of the sources that I used for this presentation, and I'll invite you to fill out the, I'm going to turn it over to Majida, because there's that evaluation that you need to do. I'm going to put on some music for you so you can hopefully do your those evals. Thank you so much for being here.
So I'm going to be supporting. Thank you so much, Paula. And just to let you know, I went ahead and put it in the evaluation link in the chat box there. So if you could just go ahead and take a few moments to grab the link and open it up and do the evaluation. We're going to give you some time. And then Paula, did you want to play some nice relaxing music as well? You're on mute though.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
So one more thing I want to say is that there's a lot out there in the world, in the neuroscience world, about brain waves and inducing different brainwave states. And if you want to support in deeply relaxing, you can go on YouTube and type in binaural beats or isochronic tones. Binaural is B-I-N-A-U-R-A-L, binaural beats. And just scroll through all the options there are for music that will help you calm your brain and your body if you want to. That kind of music really needs to be listened to with earphones to be effective. But it's constructed in a way that's meant to change your brain waves. And so I invite you to explore that.
So hopefully everyone has had enough time to go ahead and just click on that evaluation link, get it popped up in another window, and go ahead and take that evaluation. It really does help us. We do share the feedback with Paula as well. So, you know, if she did a great job and you really appreciated that, then yeah, you can let her know that. Or, you know, even if you're like, okay, maybe Paula, you need to you know, work on this and this and this, or perhaps if you could have added this, just your honest feedback is appreciated. And then Paula, We did have a couple of comments in the chat box. One comment was, the dichotomy of acute and chronic stress is somewhat similar or analogous to acute and chronic inflammation, though remedies may be different. And then there was another comment as well that says, lion's breath is good for easing a sore throat too, if I recall correctly.
Absolutely.
And yes, oh.
The other thing I put, I don't know if you can see, but I have my contact email on the screen. For some reason, the slide wouldn't stay. But if anybody has a question for me or wants to get in touch with me, pthomas787@gmail.com.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you. There's also another comment in the chat box I'm just going to respond to. This will be available on YouTube. And then all of you who've actually registered and I have your email address, then I will send you the link both to the YouTube once it's uploaded, as well as the slides as well. So you'll get all of these nice slides, because there's a few gold nuggets in there that I saw that I was like, oh, I can write this down. So you'll get the PowerPoint presentation as well. So, and thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate you all, and for continuing to come and support these brown bag talks and getting the information. Hopefully it was useful information to you all, that you could learn how to de-stress. And understand, where your stress is coming from as well. Thank you so much, Paula. That was really lovely, and I appreciate it. Just your knowledge and your mana'o. I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.